Hello, we are here with another episode of Asian Movie Pulse Talks. I have just now decided not to mention the numbers anymore because there are too many of them and no one remembers what number this is. This time we're going to talk about zombies in Asian cinema and Asian TV, taking the opportunity from the huge success of All of Us Are Dead, which also became the most popular article we ever uploaded on Facebook with almost 10,000 likes for some reason. It was Rhythm's article. So since he was the instigator of the whole thing, let us start with him. Tell us, Rhythm, about the series.
Right, yeah. So this is Netflix's latest series. To keep it very short, it's a story which is set in a high school in a town called Busan, and what's happened is that place has become the epicenter for a zombie outbreak, and the entire school has been infected, and bit by bit the zombies have started to infect the entire town as well. And while the military is trying to get the people out to contain the epidemic, the zombie epidemic, there's a group of students that are stuck in the school, and the military has more or less given up on them, or they don't even know that they are stuck there. So it is up to these friends, enemies, a whole bunch of different sort of characters to get together and try and escape from the school. And but what they do not know that even outside, once they get outside, things aren't very well because the zombie outbreak has just taken up the entire town. So yeah, that's pretty much the short version of what the series is about. It's a lot of fun. This one's a bit different to other zombie series and films, because this time we get to see a zombie outbreak from the perspective of teenage students. So problems that we usually don't get to see have been taken up here. Stuff like where do they go when they want to go to the toilet, or how do they share a candy bar amongst all of them. So it's the little things like that make the difference between this one and all the other countless of other films and TV zombie films and TV stuff out there, not just from Korea, but all over, and Asia in particular.
And why do you think this thing became so successful? What?
That's really hard to say, but I mean, like I said, I think it's the fresh perspective. You get to see it from like, for a lot of the audience, from like a relatable sort of a point of view. And the setting is different. It's not we had it set in a train, so we have had those stuff where it is just one location. But being in a school, you get to do a lot of inventive set pieces. You get lots of new locations, plus the whole dynamic between teenagers, love stories and bullies, and so it's a mix of a lot of different elements that work well individually in different projects, but then to get together and just bring it into one production, I think that could have played a factor. Plus it's Netflix. Netflix loves promoting its new Korean content, and to be fair to them, they are doing quite well with it as well. Investing money in the right place, and this was clearly one of them. So yeah, Netflix has been popular with its other Korean zombie series as well. So I think that also played a part in this one getting the exposure that it did.
And I guess combining teen drama with zombies was a brilliant idea, considering how popular both are, particularly among the youths who usually, I guess, watch these things for the most part.
Right, yeah.
Adriana, you also saw the series?
Yeah, I watched it, and I started really, I didn't know what to think about, but then I got really sucked in, and I really enjoyed it. I think the Koreans have a very magic touch in mixing all these genre and romance and comedy, and of course, as Rhythm said, there was lots of money poured into this thing. Netflix is pouring lots of money in Korean content, and And so it's very well done. I love some characters, some more than others. I wasn't very keen on the very, very popular one, you know, the fan favorite girl, but I was, and also I really enjoyed there was a very good villain in this series. They're not just the zombie, but there was that student, not student, the bully that is half zombie, half human. I think it's called Guinam, which was quite a vicious character, and I really enjoyed that as well. And also the introduction of this Humby, this half human and half zombie, sort of a new species that is born. So we'll see. I guess there's gonna be a second series, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Spencer, you also saw the series?
I did not see the series in its entirety. I saw the first episode, and I kind of partially wanted to go back to it, and I just haven't really returned to it quite yet. But it seemed quite promising, and it was definitely a subversion of expectations for like the zombie genre. Definitely not what I expected to see, kind of the high school drama zombie combination, but it seemed to have worked. So, and based off of what everyone said, I'm sure it's a really good series.
Well, I have to say I'm struggling a bit with it. I've watched 7 episodes, 8, but I'm not very into it. I don't know why. I like the fact that a lot of the protagonists are dying, which is always good for a series, you know. If you dislike someone, it's good, you know. But yeah, but I can see the appeal. I can see, but also it's like the fact that the production is so good is always beneficial for the series, particularly for the young audience, I guess.
I do think, you know, as you said, you got to episode 7 and you're struggling a bit. I do think it's a bit too long. You know, it could have done with maybe like an 8-episode arc, which is usually what Netflix does with its, you know, Korean dramas. So that could have maybe worked. But yeah, I generally enjoyed it, so I'm not one to complain. But I can totally see, you know, people struggling with it after, like, you know, the halfway point maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's like when the series gets out of the school, the quality is evidently lower. It's not so appealing what's happening to the other arc outside the school, which goes a bit more comedic, I guess. But yeah. Okay, so but before that, we also had Kingdom, which was another great success. Spencer, you seem to have liked that.
Oh yeah, I was a huge fan of Kingdom, and I think like you were saying before that. So I think that was kind of near the beginning of Netflix like dumping a bunch of money into like Korean productions, and that was definitely the first like very high production Korean series I've seen on Netflix, and I just thought it was amazing. The kind of way that I've like my elevator pitch that I've been describing it to my friends who I want to watch it is, it's not really like a zombie TV series in my opinion as much as a period piece, like historical drama with zombies like implemented into it, and a political drama too. Like I think it poses the question, like what happens when you have this like authoritative regime and they discover a way to create zombies and reanimate dead people. So definitely really interesting. I also have a huge crush on Bae, and she has a stellar performance in that. So
who doesn't?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's also just beautiful. Like the makeup is amazing and all the special effects. It's a really high production series, and it totally shows. Like you know right away. So yeah.
Rhythm about Kingdom.
Yeah, I love the series. You know, like Spencer said, it's the combination of the political intrigue and you know, it's a period piece. It just has zombies in it. You know, it's and that's why it works. Even if you take the zombies out of it, you still have a good drama, a good political, palatial politics sort of vibe to it. And that's like he said, is the first one that among the first ones that Netflix did for Korea, and it shows, the money that went into it, the set designs, the costumes, it's amazing. And also it had some really big name actors as well, so obviously Spencer mentioned Bae Doona, and but you also have Yoo Seung-ryung, and you have Joo Ji-hoon, equally big names, and they both did amazingly as well. And obviously with the end of season 2, we also get another big actress in it as well, who hopefully we'll see soon in season 3, as much as we saw in the film that was dedicated to her. So yeah, big fan of Kingdom, and I can totally see if that had released today instead of back then, that would have easily been like the topmost whatever Squid Game became for Netflix. I think Kingdom could have easily done that, and maybe even topped whatever Squid Game did.
Adriana, you've seen Kingdom?
Yeah, I saw Kingdom. And again, I was blown away. I really enjoyed it. I like Korean period pieces, and that was amazing. As weird as it can sound, the idea of having zombies in a period pieces, it really works. Also, there is this pairing with the anger. The anger of power, anger of the poor people for food after the war, and it was really good. I really enjoy it. And also the zombie were good. I think I love the makeup and everything. I enjoyed I was looking forward to the film, a sort of prequel, Lashing of the North as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. I loved it.
Okay. So before we cross to zombies in movies, one question for the three of you, I guess. So choose your best choice between Squid Game, Kingdom, and All of Us Are Dead. Adam?
Yeah, definitely Kingdom for me. Easy choice. Easy choice.
Adriana?
So you said Kingdom, Squid Game, and
All of Us Are Dead.
Kingdom. Yeah.
Spencer?
Kingdom 10 times out of 10.
Yeah. Okay, I guess I'm the only one who will go with Squid Game. Maybe because Lee Byung-hun is there or something. Okay.
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
Okay. But all right, this thing about zombies in Asian entertainment is much larger than just TV and Netflix. And Don, you will tell us a bit about zombies in Asian cinema?
Yeah. So basically, as the Western world will know, zombies pretty much were invented in 1968 with George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Not the first film to utilize them, but the one that gave us the popular conception of, the show shuffling undead, just seeking human flesh and, out to kill people, without remorse. And basically, it gave us, the general idea of what they're supposed to be about. The first Asian adaptation, the first close adaptation that most American audiences would be familiar with would be 1981's Strange Dead Bodies from Korea, which is an adaptation very heavily based on a Spanish film called The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, involving a chemical test to produce a chemical frequency that would try to drive insects and other bugs away from crops to yield better harvest results, but it ends up awakening the dead from underground. And this guy discovers what's going on, and the military try to stop him because they think he's responsible for the murders that the zombies are committing. It's atmospheric. It's a lot of fun. Kind of low budget. I would imagine some of that though is due to the film because it's still being restored, I believe. But that's I would say is like the first like real Asian adaptation. You get a couple in the 80s. You get Mortuary Blues and a film called Aliens in the Kong Kong Zombies or something. I'm not really. Yeah, it's one of the few I haven't been able to track down. But I think the first real notable Asian zombie film is Bile Zombie from 1998. It's a Hong Kong comedy about a group of people who are stuck in a mall and discover that this chemical that's being supplied in the drinks in the store are turning people into ravenous flesh-eating creatures, and must try to survive the various encounters. And it's basically a horror comedy first and foremost, but the zombie attacks are just really fun and gory, and there's a lot of blood splatters, as you would expect. But I would imagine that would probably be one of the first real big Asian entries into the genre. Anybody familiar with that one?
Bile Zombie. Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah.
It's like it's a bit obscure. Not many people have seen it, and it's also I don't know, the DVD like costs like $50 or $60 to buy right now. But yeah, it's okay. I don't know what to say about that. It's very, very B-movie aesthetics. I don't know. It's funny, bad in a funny way or something like that. If I could say one thing about. Yeah,
it's not like a high class film, but it's just a fun, goofy, just enjoy and relax, relax and enjoy kind of a film. Anybody else?
Okay. Rouven, if you would like to mention a zombie movie that you like.
Yeah, as I told you before, I haven't had that much time to watch the series, so I was actually trying to be sold on the idea of All of Us Are Dead and Kingdom, the other one. I haven't seen that. What Kingdom actually sounds kind of interesting. I wasn't so keen on All of Us Are Dead, to be honest. And when that comes to zombie films or zombies in Asian cinema, I think the best one that I really like, that I have that is one of my personal favorites, I think I'd go with actually two films, because they sort of are, let's say, they blend together quite nicely, is Seoul Station and Train to Busan. I think those are the ones that I really like, especially Train to Busan. I hope, because we have just made a list of terrible Asian remakes, I hope to God they don't make something as terrible as they are doing with Ring, because they have announced that there's going to be a Hollywood remake of Train to Busan. I hope they don't mess that up. But I love that film. I actually like the setting. I like that it's not as big. I watched it at a time when I was just coming off the, I think, 4th or 5th season of The Walking Dead. That point became very, very boring to me. And I like that change of pace. It was very fast paced, had interesting characters, interesting set pieces, situation. And I like the way how the zombies, which is something that I always look for, how the zombies became a metaphor for this sort of I'd not necessarily say Korean society, but almost capitalistic society, where it's about, survival of the fittest, and the main character trying to overcome that that attitude or that mindset in order to save himself and to save someone else he cares very much for. I really like that one. And I think that sociological metaphor to come to Seoul Station is even stronger in that one. So I really like these two. I'm not sure what the others think about it. And also, since we're talking about them, what do you make of the sequel, Peninsula?
I think Don is the only one in the world that liked that film.
Yeah, I really like Peninsula. The one thing for me that I'll say about this, even though Busan is the better film by a mile, and I'm not even going to debate that, the one aspect that Peninsula did was it dropped the Korean heavy melodrama and it replaced it with stunt work and action set pieces, which I'm a bigger fan of. So the fact that it lowered itself to be a more, I would say, a more commercialized effort, it appealed to me, even though it made it a lesser film, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, the fact that it dropped what made it better as a film in favor of a stupider film, those aspects appeal to me more. So I really enjoy Peninsula. I am never going to debate that it's not as good as Busan. Busan is still, I would say, in my top 5 of the past decade. I absolutely cannot. I love that movie, and it's just absolutely incredible. One of the best, if not the best, Asian zombie film ever made. So Busan, I'm never gonna speak ill about it. I do enjoy Peninsula as a guilty pleasure, but that's basically where I stand with it.
Okay.
I still haven't tracked down Seoul Station just because they've released them separately here. I know in your guys' territory, they kind of package them together as like a group. I think there's like a couple releases that sort of package them together.
Yeah.
So over here, we never got them as a singular entity. We had to buy them separately, so I was never able to buy Seoul Station. But it's definitely one that I've been keen to track down. I just haven't gotten to it yet. But I can't say enough good things about Busan. I will say for the remake, the only thing that gives me hope is that Timo from Night Calls for Us and May the Devil Take You is directing it. So I think that gives me a little bit more hope than most other American remakes, just because they still have an Asian influence at the helm of it. But I don't know much else about that. So that's the only thing for me that's kind of keeping it above the bottom of the barrel kind of American remakes of Asian fare kind of a stuff.
Okay. Spencer, Asian zombie movie you like?
Yeah, I guess I'll just hop onto the Train to Busan train. Oh well, there we go. A perfect metaphor. I really enjoyed Train to Busan as well. I haven't seen Peninsula, but just hearing Don talk about it, I'm a little more sold now. But I think that part of why I really liked Train to Busan was like the dramatic qualities. I really wasn't expecting that. I was going into a zombie movie, and at the ending, I'm like, why am I so emotional? And I thought that they did it in a really great way, and also just using like the train as a vehicle. They imagined it in so many different ways. Like there's one scene where they're kind of crawling in the storage compartments, and there's like another scene where there's a train that tips out. Like I just thought that the ways that they kind of imagined this setting was so creative, and I really appreciated that. So yeah.
And there is another scene in Train to Busan that many people don't see it, let's say, or forget about it, which for me it's like really important for its metaphor. If you remember, there are 2 elderly sisters, and at some point they get split up by the doors, which is like North and South Korea in your face. Like it's a metaphor, but it's so obvious that it's almost funny what is happening there. Rouven?
I think what I really liked about Train to Busan is the dynamics of this group that has to do a lot with class. I haven't been to Korea. I'm not sure how prominent that issue with class is in Korean society. I think we talked about this in another Asian movie talks, but this kind of struck me as something that is not just true for maybe Korean society, but maybe for any kind of many society, or let's say industrialized modern societies, where you have this dog-eat-dog society, and you have to, and this protagonist actually always trying to calculate, well, how do I make my chances bigger of survival? How do I gain the upper hand, and how do I you know, to get an advantage over the other. And this is and when he fights with this with the other people on the train, I think that's a really strong metaphor. And it actually reminded me of I mean, Don already mentioned George Romero. It actually reminded me of that dynamic that you have with the characters in a George Romero film, like in Dawn of the Dead, or even in the underground bunkers in Day of the Dead. I really like that.
Okay.
I love sorry, Train to Busan. I like very much the undercurrent moral. The emphasis is on is about the urgency of collaborating and not forgetting the common good in the moment of crisis. But I also love the setting in the train, because I think it was really clever, because on a train to go to A to C, you had to pass through B, where the zombies are, and so you have to think about how to do that. So it's a bit of a strategic game how to do it, and remind me also of the famous scene of Old Boy with the corridor, and also Snowpiercer as well. It's got the same kind of idea, and it was very clever. Also, I want to ask you, that you are the expert. It's only my impression that Train to Busan start this trend of the very fast zombies, because I always remember zombies like shuffling really slowly, but then in Train to Busan they really get really fast. So I was wondering if it was actually the first one to start this fashion or not.
Don?
Well, there's been some debate over where that started. Some credit an Italian film called Nightmare City as the first one that featured running zombies. Although the fact that they're not technically zombies, they're just victims of radiation burns, and they're just horribly just confused and mutated. There's been a lot of debate over whether or not those are actually zombies, but those that call the creatures in that film zombies say Nightmare City is the first one. Others say the Dawn of the Dead remake from 2004 is the first one that does running zombies. I can't recall anything else in between that really utilized the concept. Return of the Living Dead has the famous scene where they run out of the hiding spot and they ambush the paramedics. The famous scene, send more paramedics or something. That's often cited as an example, but it's just the one sequence rather than the entire film. So in terms of an actual film, it's debated between Nightmare City and Dawn of the Dead, although, like I said, Return of the Living Dead has the one sequence where they rush out of an ambush and they grab a bunch of victims. But in terms of an actual film, I think it would be between the two. Busan is probably the first Asian one, the first one in Asia to do it, but not the first one, I think, overall.
Okay. Rhythm about Train to Busan?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add that hasn't been said, but I would just like to say that we have Train to Busan to credit for making Ma Dong-seok a household name. That he's somebody that I'm a big fan of. So even before Train to Busan, I think he did really well in the bit part. So yeah, thanks to that film, that guy is now what he is, and he's been in Marvel films and all of that stuff. So yeah, I guess thank you to Train to Busan. Also with Peninsula, actually, yeah, like Don said, I agree that it has the better action scenes, and they are very well done. I have to credit it for that. But yeah, like Spencer said, it's with Train to Busan, it was the emotional impact that grabbed you more than and that's why Train worked as well as it did. And I think that was what was the biggest missing point from Peninsula, the lack of heart, as it were, which was the biggest problem that I had with it. But even then, Peninsula, when talking about acting, it gave us a really good actor in Koo Kyo-wan. That guy has also been working for a while, but he's now he's been in Escape from Mogadishu. He's been in Netflix series DP, and the guy just gives amazing performances. So zombie films are usually not something that you talk about when it comes to like acting performances. But I'm just glad that these two actors are big names now.
So are there any Indian zombie movies?
I think I can't really say for regional films. There might be, but there was one in Bollywood actually called Go Goa Gone.
That was the one I was thinking of. If you couldn't think of anything, I was actually going to chime in and say that one because I've seen it around, but I haven't been able to get to it yet.
It's a fun film.
Okay.
I have seen that one around, on several. I've seen that on several lists of like Asian films. Right. I can't say it's any. I can't say anything to its quality, but I have seen it around, so I was going to mention it if you didn't. So yeah. That's also, like I said, the only one I can think of either.
Yeah, it's a fun film. Not the best out there. It's got some really cool characters in there. So it's definitely worth checking out for that. The setting of the city of Goa, which is like a coastal beach resort sort of a place in India, that makes for some fun moments in the film. With the use of the parties that go on around there and the use of drugs and all of that combines for some quite fun moments. Obviously, it's a Bollywood film, so it's got songs and stuff as well. but they're not that badly placed. There's no dancing and all of that. I think that's the only one that I can think of when it comes to Bollywood. I do think there are a couple regional films, but sadly right now I cannot remember the name of those because regional cinema is not something that I have dipped my feet into properly.
Okay. Adriana, you like comedies with zombies?
Well, I was going to mention two films because zombification in general is always the gender impartial. Like the virus doesn't really look at gender when it strikes and infects. But I wanted to mention these two films where the gender has got its own, reason to be. One is a very bleak film, and it's Sabus meets Zombie, where the titular character is a female pet zombie in this future. There is a sort of near future post-pandemic. And she's more like a servant, and she undergoes some treatments and actually mistreatment that are very close to common topics of gender discrimination and abuse. For example, her status is very similar to the work condition of and exploitation of the domestic workers, like the women immigrated from poorer countries, and therefore there is also related to racial abuse because she's like from another race. She's a zombie from another. It's different, and also another element is the male gaze. It's on her for the whole film, and the sexual abuse that she gets due to being like a woman in a weaker position, in a state of submission, and there is also a maternity theme. So it's a very feminine take on the zombie. It's a very interesting film, and another film is much brighter and funny. It's a proper comedy, and it's the Odd Family Zombie on Sale, which is a very laughing out loud film. So it's a really funny take on the genre and very entertaining. And in this film, the zombie bite has got a rejuvenating power. And despite the rejuvenating drug market is generally more associated with women, in this case, there are only old men queuing and to pay for a bite because they want the masculine power that come with the rejuvenation. And so at the beginning of the film, the zombies are all men fooling around, while the women are the strong character decision makers. And then there is the mayhem happen in a very gory carnage scene in a wedding, at a wedding ceremony, where men attack the women, and then the virus spread all over. And so I thought it was interesting how these two films actually channel the zombie theme in the gender. I have a gender angle to it. And no, I'm not sure that if there are other films with this kind of point of view, but that's what I from my experience. Yeah.
Okay. And also I found about the Miss Zombie that you mentioned, a very interesting thing is, like, I think it's one of the few movies where zombies are actually sensualized. The protagonist, like, the other protagonist want to have sex with her or something, which is not exactly very common. Don't you know of any other film that includes anything like that, sex with zombies?
I mean, necromantic, but I'm not entirely sure that qualifies.
Yeah. I think Miss Zombie is like a really unique film in that, and also because it's black and white and kind of approaches the whole thing in like art house fashion, although it's not exactly art house, but definitely one zombie film to watch. Don, if we will talk about some of the most violent ones, what would you mention?
Most violent ones, my mind immediately goes to Hell Driver. Depending on how you classify them, probably Meatball Machine. They act zombie-like. They're driven just to kill. So you could probably mention them, but let's see. There's probably a couple of others that are ringing out to me, but like I said, the first one that comes to mind is just Hell Driver. That one is just that's fantastic. I love what they do with that. I mean, I figure all of the the crew involved in that one's responsible. Sushi Typhoon and all of the the crew involved with that one. But another one too. This one actually just reminded me of Big Tit Zombie. That one's kind of on the cheesier note, but that one's got a lot of fun splatter to it too.
Yeah. Actually, there are a lot of Japanese zombie movies. They're not that known, but there are a lot of them, in various kinds of genres. When we talk about violence, the first thing that comes to my mind is Versus, which is like a proper bloodbath of a movie. And the two films you mentioned, Hell Driver, and which one was the other one? You just mentioned Hell Driver.
Big Tit Zombie?
No, the Nishimura one. The other?
Meatball Machine.
And Meatball Machine. They are really bloody, but they are also kind of funny. Whereas Versus is not funny at all. It's like straight massacre from beginning to end, and in a nonsensical way. Rouven, any title you would like to mention?
Coming to Versus, I think it is actually kind of funny, not in the way Meatball Machine is funny, but because of the whole how exaggerated it is and how it has this almost like, I'm not sure if Don would agree, but I would also say like a video game aesthetic to it, that with some of the characters, it's so over the top. I had a blast with it. Not as entertaining perhaps as Meatball Machine. I agree with that, but it certainly had aspects to it. Actually, when I was listening to Adriana talking about her two picks, I was actually thinking of The Happiness of the Katakuris for some reason, which isn't straight zombie film, but it has zombies. It has zombies in it. It's probably one of the, if you can actually say that, given his filmography, strangest films that he has ever done. Strangest because of the blend of different genres that he puts here, like family drama,
musical, definitely,
musical, romance, and animation. And it's actually the first time that he based a film on a remake, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's a remake of The Quiet Family, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I really, really like the fact how, as Adriana mentioned, that the zombies are, or the fact that the zombies are something that they have to overcome in order to become a family again, to be whole again. I found that to be quite an entertaining metaphor. And actually, the more I think about it, the more I think about the film, the more it grows on me. And actually, I think how clever that film is and that metaphor is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rhythm, any title you want to mention?
I don't exactly want to classify it as a zombie film, but I think The Sadness, which we talked about in our last AMP talks, that featured some, the characters had very zombie-like qualities in the attacks that they do. And, again, it comes with the whole violent films that you just mentioned. I think that one also definitely qualifies for me in that genre.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Spencer, any other title you want to mention, maybe?
I was, kind of thinking more like zombie comedy, drama stuff, and I was also going to say The Happiness of the Katakuris as a movie with a very strange movie with the zombies in it. I remember watching it and thinking, this movie can't get any more bizarre than it already is, and then the zombies came out, and so I really got a kick out of that. And I haven't seen it, but I'm curious if anyone has and would be willing to speak on One Cut of the Dead, because that's been on my radar for a bit of time, and I'm curious if
I almost forgot about that one. Yeah. That one's fantastic. I think it would probably play to a person that would have film knowledge, because it's so meta in how it approaches how a film is made, that it would probably, that a lot of the jokes would work more on them. But I still think a general audience is going to catch enough of it, or at least have enough baseline knowledge that it's not going to be detrimental in any way. It's a lot of fun. I can't believe I forgot about it, but it's because I think the twist kind of takes away the fact that it's a zombie film. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, if you're involved in the filmmaking industry, I think it's going to impact you in a much bigger way than the general audience, but it's still really fun.
Yeah. I think. Sorry, please read.
I would just tell to Spencer that definitely it's a film you have to watch. Easily among my favorite zombie films, like Don said, if we can call it that. But go into it without knowing as little about it as possible, and you will have a great time. I watched it like 5 times now, and every single time I saw it with different people. And the last time I saw it with like 30 or 40 people with my film society. And there were people who had no clue about the film whatsoever. And they had such a good time. The whole room was just laughing their heads off. It is so funny, so meta, so very clever as well. The script is extremely clever. The filmmaking itself is also very, very clever. Just don't read anything, don't hear anything, as little details about it as possible, and just watch the film, definitely.
But I really wanted to say some things about it. Okay, I'm just joking. But okay, I think what needs also to be mentioned about One Cut of the Dead is the fact that it was a really, really low budget and made really, really lot of money, which is also like, I don't know, like an even more meta comment in what happened to the film, the reality of the film, what happened afterwards. And also also the fact that the producer ended up keeping all the money and the cast and crew never got any out of it. So yeah, that's a joke on them, I guess.
I actually, the last screening that I mentioned when we saw the film with 30-40 people, we had a local film director who's made a couple of good films in my language. And he wanted to see if there's any way he could get the rights to remake it into our regional language.
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. That would be a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay, if we are to mention a couple of more, I would like to say Wild Zero, which is okay, a bit unique because the members of a garage band from Japan, Guitar Wolf, are the protagonists. It makes it a whole other level of zombie film, also very funny and violent and extreme in an upset way. And also Tokyo Zombie with Tadanobu Asano and So Aikawa, which is really, really funny in another kind of way, Japanese kind of humor, but really, really fun. Okay, I guess anyone else wants to mention any title? If no, it's okay. Yeah, I think we're fine. We mentioned a lot. Okay, I guess this is it for this week's ASEAN Movie Pulse Talks. Next week we are going to talk about Drive My Car, because we want to ride that wave also after the zombie thing. So hopefully we will see you all again then. So this is it. Thank you very much for attending, and if you like this thing, please also subscribe to our channel. Have a good night. Bye.
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 Later.
Bye.